Hey everyone, this is Manly Badass Hero, and welcome back to the letter. Previously we completed Rebecca's route, and now we're on to Ashton's. Parties have never really been my thing. They're always such a hassle. It takes so much time off my day. Over prior plans and commitments cancelled, all for the sake of playing along with others.
Welcome everyone!
I've hated them, even as a child.
Please, make yourselves at home!
But Mom often insisted on dressing me up for these when I was a little boy. She'd slick my hair back, put me in one of those stuffy dinner jackets, and if there were any children around, urged me to make friends. Never mind how utterly loud or tedious it can be. It was all for the sake of keeping up appearances, pretending to play nice with others. To some extent, lies and intrigues have already surrounded me, long before I've chosen what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, there are easy ways to tune everything out, and much to my mom's frustration, I've always managed to sneak my CD player along back then. I kept to myself and to my music, had my own little world, until I learned to observe. Sure, all it took was Mom confiscating my player during one social function, but when left with nothing better to do, watching people appeared a much interesting activity. More so than feigning a curious face while a snot-nosed kids babbled on about a shiny new toy. I got a Game Boy! It has 2 pixels and 3 colors. In fact, it still is. It's a simple matter of awareness, really. And for someone with keen eyes, a skewed necktie or a simple flick wrist alone can tell volumes about a person. I still don't like parties. Especially ones as big and as fancy as the Wright's housewarming. However, when there's actual reason to go to them, I figure they're not too bad.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Besides, like it or not, it's all part of the job. I'm here on a mission. One that has the name Luke Wright plastered all over it. You'll think the man will want to remain inconspicuous after his name has been linked to several high-profile crimes across Luxbourne. Granted, most of it's gone cold over the years, having stagnated without any lead or evidence, but it still doesn't make him any less suspect. Yet, here he is, throwing a party in his own backyard. Although having observed the man this past year, I'm not even shocked. He craves it, the damn spotlight, constantly yearns for attention like a neglected puppy. It does take a genius to figure out why he's nowhere to be found in his own party. He's likely waiting for an opportunity, a grand entrance. But that's not the problem here. What pisses me off is how far his reach extends, how close he's creeped into the lives of the people I care about. Again, like a stubborn inch you can't be rid of. First Professor Clark, then there's Isabella. I've also spotted Z-Man around here a while ago, and now there's also Rebecca.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
There'll also be hell to pay if he so much as harm a hair on either Zach's or Rebecca's head. Oh, Ashton. He might have already done so with Isabella, and I was able to do a single thing to keep her safe. I can't let the same mistake happen. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people, though. Any untoward action will tarnish his glorious reputation with his peers, and he values appearances more than anything. Prefers to do whatever disposal necessary as quietly as possible, away from the limelight. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of doing so. Or then, in fact, and on the off chance he pulls a stunt, I won't be responsible for my actions.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
Nothing's worth more than Shirley. Shirley, you can't be serious. I'm gonna check something real quick while we're here. So, we've already hit some branches. And... oh god, this route is long. Hopefully it's mostly just variances that it has to keep track of and not actually literally that long, because that's the longest I've ever seen. It could just be just so many variances up to this point from your previous gameplay that it looks long. I'm hoping that's the case. For Zachary's and Rebecca's sakes, however, I really hope this will simply be another housewarming. Even though something tells me it's anything but. This, despite freely sharing a brief laughter or two with the latter, when the conversation has called for it. Call it a detective's intuition, or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come out of it. I simply can't let my guard down here. More so when nearby a familiar car slows to a stop and out comes...
Chief?
My presence here might be odd at best, but I have an excuse. One that the man standing a few meters away from me handed himself a year ago. Served up on a plate, no less, along with a heavy helping of flattery from the newly promoted detective inspector. Can't exactly say the same for my good old boss, can I? Although to see him here, chained up with Luxborn's rich and famous, is such a big surprise in itself. No disrespect meant, but the guy's obviously a social climber. What's surprising is the fact that he seems all too eager to mingle with a person of interest as wife. Just what the hell is he doing here?
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
What the shit is going on here?
Oh wait, Ash! What about...
This
Or time
will
for
be
love.
Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
Gotta solve some mysteries.
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Let's go, Scoob. I don't want to draw attention to myself either. At least not until he's given me proper reason to spoil this little party.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see.
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again.
For now, the best I can do is wait, blend in the crowd and remain inconspicuous, to cast less suspicions about myself, despite me like dressing very dramatically. Zach and Rebecca too, as much as possible. Even if it means having to pretend I don't know them, forcing myself to rub elbows with people I barely know, let alone like. I can't involve them, especially with the added risk of having Chief here, whose motives are dubious at best. Wandering is out of the question this early as well, when there are guards and civvies stationed here and there to make sure nosy guests don't go unattended. Going past them is something I can do with ease, but I'd rather not right now, when I'm one of the few snooping roaming about. It'll be best to try and do so when there's a crowd of people. And if their interior designer's drunken claims are to be believed...
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
Luke here. Luke will be here.
He's around.
He's just looking around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing.
It'll all come down to how well I play my cards tonight. With a good hand, this party's to give me the breakthrough I need to crack Luke right, or something to prove my suspicions wrong. Either or. Maybe find out what kind of game my boss is also playing. I've had an inkling before. A few hunches tempered down by how much of a bumbling fool the man appears, in spite of his rank in the force. But one does not simply deal with the right to get invited to a party they host, without wanting anything from either of the two. Or the other way around. So with a last wary glance at the two, I head into the ballroom where the party is at. I just hope this will not complicate things further. Shit. By the time the party comes into full swing, night has fallen, yet there still isn't a Luke Wright in sight. I'm aware, and like the rest of upper-class Luxborn, how ostentatious the man can be. Frankly, I'm impressed. I don't even know how many hors d'oeuvres I've given my hands on and stuffed my face with during the wait. Free food and booze. I probably had too many devil eggs and Vala Vent as it is. The server's already giving me a stink eye every time I saunter over the buffet table. Listen, you people rich, you get the free food and the free wine. I'm drinking and eating all of it, so get used to it. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area. Since I'll be stuck in this ballroom for a while, I might as well keep an ear out for any useful info or gossip might let slip. Despite standing in the same room with very people we are whispering about, some just can't resist.
Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem? Tech problem?
It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
He might have already.
Why yes, I also like talking about my money. If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past months suggests anything, that or someone has been pulling the strings, I wouldn't be shocked. This case would not have gone this long if Scumbag doesn't have a mule of some kind in the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened. Feh.
Glad I did not have to deal with that. But keep it down, someone might hear. The wife especially.
This kind of negligence is always an advantage for me. However, at times, I wish I could be smashed drunk while doing so. Having sharp ears also means hearing the most unsavory things. Who cheated on who this week? One person's motive for bashing another's skull against a wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive. Those sorts of stuff. That's perfectly normal. After a few years, it gets tiring. You get desensitized at some point. Yes, but humans can be downright awful. Sometimes there just isn't enough brain bleach in this world. Sadly, the wine I have on hand is no go tonight. Mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later, for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. And something always comes up in assignments like this, no matter how routine and peaceful things may be. A detective inspector dying of cardiac arrest, for example. Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt, the second I shift my eyes to a corner of the ballroom. There Rebecca stands right next to...
Hannah Wright.
Some will point out I'm acting a touch bit paranoid, and maybe I am. This is a party and she's the hostess. It goes to say she'll take time to mingle with her guests. But Hannah Wright Nee Evans isn't a woman without her share of accolades. At least to the public she isn't. Unlike her spouse, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company. Or effectively hide whatever irregularity there might be. Although she's clean, as far as my agents and I have found, it doesn't rule out her possible involvement with whatever her husband's up to. Even with Z-Man's personal opinion of the woman, certain gut feelings you really can't easily shake off. Hell, Luke Wright came out clean according to previous reports, until I bothered to take a deeper look into it. The official records may say otherwise, but people will be surprised by how much a random busybody knows about their employer. What I've gleaned may not be so sufficient to bring down anyone to trial yet, but enough to nurture suspicion. Assuming the worst may be a bit of an overreaction, so I walk calmly towards them, but one doesn't last as long as I have in my line of work by being careless.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Just some small talk, then. Nothing to be worried about. Like I've initially thought. In fact, she's probably been more careful of her appearances than her own husband. Knows how to handle herself in front of so many potential witnesses, having grown up with the spotlight focused on her. Yet, even knowing that, the anxiety stays. It had been there since the party started, thinking about it. I've brushed it off earlier. Who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I've gone undercover in a party house hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky. There's plenty of rooms for error. Usually, though, the tension passes around the first half hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier, seeking to overwhelm. An odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. Maybe it's a ghost. Yes, people will be looking at me no matter how small or big of a blip I am on their radar. That's what they do in these things. After all, I'm someone they barely know, hardly belonging in their world. I stand out for one reason or another. I should already be used to it because of my training. But when the feeling of eyes burning into the back of my back lingers longer than necessary, I know something is wrong. I've been looking around every now and then to catch a culprit guilty of the act. No luck. No matter my efforts to push the sensations far down as I can, it really bothers me. Pinpricks stinging the back of my head, the ghost of a cold touch crawling, creeping up my limbs. Do I switch my gaze back to Rebecca and Hannah Wright? Wait, so Ash can see the ghost? She stands there, dark-haired and dirty, sticking out like a sore thumb from the rest of the room. Even so, no one seems to notice. But she's not looking straight back at me. Her mere existence here strikes, disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision binds, while I simply stand stock still and gape at her, like my life depends on making sure she stays where she is. I feel trapped under her presence, till another guest bumps into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I have been holding my breath. Before I can figure out what has happened, she's gone. Even if it's only for a split second, she's out of my line of sight. quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing's amiss. I don't really want to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would have not been allowed in a fancy thing like this. Yes, Ash. The one that's bleeding out from the eyes with, like, ragged, torn limbs was not allowed into the party. Got some fine detective work there, Detective Robinson. I just said Robinson because I saw the text. It's the first name that came to mind. She would have been hauled out of here before she could say Jack Robinson. What has the security been doing? Has security hired really that incompetent for someone that's so distinct to easily get in without notice? None of these snooty rich people have been affected by her presence either. There should have been an outcry about a dirty beggar by now. Yes, Ash, it must be a dirty beggar. Particularly from the host. She'd be staying almost at arm's length with the woman, and yet she simply continues to talk with Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food then? I'm just trying to see things. It could have been the wine though. I'm every bit as sober as when I first stepped off my car. I didn't even take a single sip. I started taking a glass off from the buffet on my third trip back. The hors d'oeuvres? I've had so much after all. But why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Wright want to do that? Wait, what? He's fishy, though I can't see why he'll ever think it'll be a good idea to lace the food he'll serve in his party. With a high-ranking police officer like Chief Lee on his guest list to boot. He has been linked to the narcotics trade. Yeah. However, this is above him. That much I can tell. Unless there's a mass murder waiting to happen here tonight. Oh, it'll happen. In 7 days. Morbid thought aside, I don't feel any different. Can't take off any symptoms of hallucinogen in my system. Nobody else from the crowd looks like they've been doped up as well. And we've all been eating the same food. Both Rebecca and Zach appear fine to me. So...
What the fuck was that?
Ghost! I really can't put it more eloquently than that. But there's no time to pull apart the meat of this mystery. Now when a telling silence comes upon the room, and draws everybody's attention to the main doors of the ballroom. Where finally, Luke Wright decides to grace us lowly peasants with his noble existence.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
If you stick around for long enough, money will rain from the ceiling because I've got so much of it. But you can't take any home. It's my money. You may burn it, though. Burning is okay, because I've got so much of it. I've been tailing this guy for a while now. Before that, I've heard stories from previous officers who has tackled this investigation. None of them are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the incident with Professor Clark, yet. Pleasant is glossing over the gravity of it. While Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing, he's shown to be a real rotten guy. At least, that's the case when he thinks none of his peers are around to judge him. I lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases the guy can be pinned with during the time I've been watching him. Fuck, he even tried to make a move on Isabella back in the open house, right in front of his wife. Staying in the same room as him now doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Actually, the urge is stronger this time, but protocols. My case first and foremost. My own opinion of the man shouldn't get ahead of my purpose here. If I want to put him in his place, it'll be in court, with all proper charges filed against him. I'll only be able to progress to that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down. Luke Wright, what is your defense? Mr. Judge, my defense is I have simply too much money.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode.
In fact, my defense is that I am stuck in a room full of peasants. I shouldn't be here, and neither should you after I have this money delivered to you. My god, that's the best defense I've ever seen. You don't even need a lawyer. Free to go.
Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
Suppressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd that has gathered around him. Amidst the cheers and claps, now is as good time as any to move, trying to find that something that the McCullough woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slime ball himself. A fake smile is plastered on my face, while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him. All while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Unfortunately, before I can get any further, the whole drama starts.
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have two ways to resolve their mess. Either they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they throw lots of money. I mean, they create an even greater problem out of it, and just blows up in everybody's faces one way or another. Becomes a chaotic wreck involving the media and every muckraker the story will reach. Fun.
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
I mean, a few seconds in and this is already proving itself to be a big public spectacle. Why spend money on television to buy daytime soap operas? You can just go to one of these and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food, too. Really, if I were an actual guest, I'd just take this as some sort of form of amusement.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
I'm not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him. Every mistake he might make or words he might accidentally spill. Even through this whole sorry tale. Technically, none of that's admittable as evidence. Hell, although I've lost my chance because of this, the whole thing might still tell me something that will turn into a breakthrough for the case. This may just be what I need, really, instead of trying to sneak about. Odds are, security's all tighter right now. The guard's on the edge for any other person who will try to take advantage of this. Damn, I should have left a half an hour in. Still, if nothing from this, well, shite, back to square one. I head back to where Shirley is and start thinking my other options. No use staying longer if there isn't anything. For now, I wait. I listen. I observe. Interesting, isn't it, though? That's the Chief Inspector's wife. Huh, already on the 29th. So what's... Is Ashton's huge route gonna just take place in the span of a day? Because we're barely cracking the surface here now. The morning after starts off quiet. With the commotion from the night before, it's a little too surprising having to wake up this well-rested. Even the whole of Salamwell residence seems unusually still. The open hallway when I step out for a stretch devoid of tenants out for the usual morning sweep of the grounds. No sounds coming from the other units either, or signs of other people just waking up. It's almost as if something's brewing on the horizon. Dark clouds on the horizon. A peaceful night's sleep still does wonder for the mood, so... I have Rebecca's unbelievably comfortable couch to thank for that, I guess. No offense meant to Zach's couch, of course. It really is cozy, comparatively speaking. I can't remember the last time I've slept without anything urgent interrupting. It's a nice break from all the bad news lately. If it isn't for the intermittent buzzing from my pocket waking me up, I'll readily sleep in. Just to catch a few extra minutes of shut-eye. The ringing has stopped before I can move somewhere private, but sleep has also been effectively kicked out of my system by then. Pity. I can use a little more rest until I have to face the ever storm I've created last night. Of course, I owe Rebecca an explanation. It doesn't matter if it's a whole truth or another hastily spun tale. Although, I hadn't really figured out the what and the how part yet. Unlike Zach and Isabella, who don't usually ask further questions or what little I can share, Rebecca's rather quick on the trigger. Those Nancy Blue games we used to play as children, she's taken well to them. Not to the same degree as I have, but still, keen enough to figure things out. It'll have to be set aside for later, though. A second soon, my phone rings again, cutting off the rest of my thoughts.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe City. Baggers, watch out.
Oh no!
Trouble? Better not lie.
Sad.
Cool dude.
Yes, it is.
Fly for an Asian guy.
It would be nice to just chill after last night, or maybe half listen to the news. Sure, it's the same thing we've been hearing lately. Still beats staying outside in the chilly Luxport morning on the phone of my boss, listening to that ringtone. Sighing, I answered it and only get it over with, thank God. To hear him so grumpy, however. Now, that's something I haven't expected from him at this hour.
Frey, where are you right now?
Sounds like someone's gotten a few drinks last night and is suffering for it in the morning. Just thinking about how this will go gives me a headache. Immediately I reach up a hand and pinch the bridge of my nose to stave it off.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you, too.
He's probably calling to rag on me or complain about what has happened with his wife. Which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. It seems like the usual rich man cheats on wife deal. Although I would have chosen to follow up on it if it was somebody else's wife. But figuring it's a chief's, hey, I trust him to come clean if the mistress is related to the Wright's shady dealings. This is why I left before they even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not gonna go around investigating cheating husbands and wives when it's probably just that. Chief appears to have a different idea in mind, though.
There's nothing pleasant in the morning. Anyway, where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
He did, and not only him. Zach, Rebecca, Isabella, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. But I was undercover last night. A phone call was the last thing I wanted to happen, when there were other things I need to focus on at the time. Besides, we have the radios and the work-issued phones. Why doesn't he call me for those if this is urgent?
Just woke up, sir. As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early. If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there. Just... Look, kid. Frey. Don't take this personally, alright? You're off the Luxborn firm case. Starting today.
Well, I did not expect to hear that either. This must be some kind of cosmic joke. I lost some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Of his bad mood or a severe hangover, maybe. That conclusion doesn't take too much brain power. Everyone knows that when given the chance, he exercises no control of his drinking. If it isn't for his wife causing a stir, he'll probably be trashed an hour in at the party. He has likely drank more after they've thrown her out of the ballroom. Besides, his sense of humor has never been good, and it's just infuriating most of the time. But when he doesn't follow it up, if I sound a tiny bit frustrated speaking to my own superior, I'm not the one to blame.
Wait, no. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The Temps won't say anything about it, but I...
It's not that. They're orders. From the higher-ups.
Ah, the higher-ups. Yes, my favorite word. Next to Chris Smuggen. Says, when has the higher-ups ever cared about what the criminal investigation department did? When there's money involved, and lots of it. As far as I can tell, they don't give a hoot if CID is filled with old cold cases, as long as we keep the spending low. When I need to view those old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. You're gonna have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to these reports, see if the higher-ups will allow it. Every step, every move in this case, there isn't one that hasn't been gated by some authority. If it's not the chief, it's a commissioner, or so they always tell me. It makes one wonder why they bother assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. And I wonder why it's taken this long for even a hint of progress to show.
You can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry, Ashton. You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but...
3 years, Chief. 3 years!
3 years since an anonymous tech leak blew up. Since Luke's right name has been openly linked to several nasty dealings within Luxborn's corporate world, some of them involving deaths. 3 years and I'm the only one who has made it this far. Made much progress officers with more experience have been able to do when they handled this case. Just within a year and with barely any help from that damn brass at that. Of course I'll be pissed.
Do you know what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't dedicate a whole year of my time on it, it would have gone cold. Like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey. But the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress. Still too slow by their standards.
Too slow? Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather.
They'll just take it and throw it away.
Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another. Concrete proof, Frey. I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision. They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the Force longer. Someone who has more experience.
Someone who has more experience?
They meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile. I know it is. They'll never say within earshot. But from the very minute I stepped in the precinct, a lot of them has underestimated me. From the stairs alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid. Too young, too green, too inexperienced. With a very fancy coat. Very expensive. Once they pull that card on me, every argument I have gets thrown out the window. No matter how logical it is. No matter how much I've accomplished, what the record says, or the amount of work I've put in every investigation they throw my way.
We're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Can he even hear himself? The reasoning is odd in itself. No one joins his line of work without knowing the dangers of it.
Don't I get a second chance? You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final. I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And don't even try to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Fred, it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Frey. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night? If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for—
You were at the party.
Oh boy. That's not a good old boy, like, oh boy. It's more like a negative old boy. It's nega old boy. It makes me pause. His wary tone. A sudden careful note in his voice. Slowly a frown forms on my face. My brows knitting together in confusion. Much as I hate to say this about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Hard not to think of it that way, seeing how he acted around Hannah Wright last night. Is he worried? But why should he? Who's anyone was invited. Granted, his presence sprouts plenty of questions, but I didn't doubt for 1 second why he received one. There's something wrong, and I've unintentionally walked into it, in the process of saving all the work I've been doing. Who knows, though? All I have is a sneaky suspicion, but when one looks at it from a different angle, put everything together. Why the hell I've been taken off the case might be for the same reason he's there in the first place. Falk.
Yes, Chief, I was. For a good reason. A friend invited me to go with her. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was—
He coughs. It almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses? Lies? That's what it sounds like. I voice acted it for you. I'm a professional. I don't want to accuse him of anything, yet he's someone I've respected since I joined the LPD. Even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He won't be Chief Inspector of Luxborn Police if he isn't. He won't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke, and what's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh, shite. Fucking hell. Fucking shite.
Chief Harvey, about last night with the—
Why does it matter, Frey? This isn't about that.
What does it matter? What does it matter? I recite the whole oath of taking him to be sworn in service if I can, but at this point it seems too late to remind him of that. He's probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. Damn it. I've suspected the upper brass of this, even the lower ranks of Burns in the force, but from my own boss. Shite. No wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have been pulling the strings. I might have been set to fail long before the Fulking case has been assigned to me. I don't want to just give up. I don't want to believe I've wasted an entire year for this. I want this to be one of the kind of news to tell Professor Clark, after all those promises I've given the man. So what's Professor Clark's connection? I don't want this to end here. If this might still have a connection with what happened to Isabella, like I initially assumed. Chasing a real person is easier than chasing those supernatural things. And I hope to God I'm right on this one.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah right, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see it all on my table, understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer, using that tone, brushing my questions off as easy as discarding a dead body.
Yes. Yes, sir.
He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. You're off the case, Frey. Just like that. Funny though, why this has still caught me off guard. Oh yeah. It's a long route. Hoo-hoo-wee. Except maybe it'll speed up. I've discovered years ago how different the actual thing is. How far from reality everything I've believed in as a dreamy-eyed child. There are no high-speed pursuits every day, no thrilling gunfights or exciting cases every step of the way. Only paperwork. Lots of red tape and dealing with the politics and the bureaucracy. I've set out to change things, hoping I'll make things better for the people I care about. It ends up changing me instead. Serves me right, I guess, for being too idealistic. Probably tell me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Now here I am, standing useless. Can't do anything but grip my teeth and kick the wall as the line finally goes dead. The bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
I figures Rebecca will be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like when she sees me like this. Which seems to happen a lot, regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Nope, it's just anger. Anger at someone who ditched her on a date. Well, it wasn't really a date for him. Very complicated. Instead, she just looks annoyed. The storm I left brewing last night, it's right there in her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now. Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around for my couch and my cooking.
Yes.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although, I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10. Would sleep again.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton. I'm not in the mood.
The bitterness in her voice is not lost on me. But at this point, our friendship, in our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now?
Are you still mad about last night?
She merely raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Seeing her like this, really clearly ticked off, makes me believe those things Z-Man says, the part where Rebecca scares him, sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already. But the familiarity in it does take away from the downhill turn this conversation is starting to take. Only an awkward cough serves as a brief way to stall.
Okay, of course you're still mad. But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today. You know that full well.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Oh, come on, Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party? Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out. You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us out in public. Some friendship, huh?
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca. I was...
Maybe you even just used me to get into the party.
Ouch.
You said yes to being my +1, but you were rather excited to just peel yourself off, weren't you?
Technically that was true.
Honestly, I'm feeling a bit used.
The only reason he did go was to investigate. I can't even look her in the eye. It's not that I lied to her. I honestly wanted to be there. To keep Zach safe, to keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend. It's still a party hosted by a person of interest. By a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wants. But then Chief showed up. Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just can't be bothered to die off peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons matter. If I was found out right then and there, hell, if Zach's and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what could happen. But Rebecca doesn't understand that. Doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. I mean, they're being stalked by a ghost, I think. Who cares about the other harm, like... Anyway, it's all in her eyes, in the tight line of her lips and her furrowed brows. The hurt.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
This day is just off to a wonderful start. First, my case, now, Becca. How do we go about this? So here's Rebecca right there. Oh, we have a gun out. You know, actually, no, let me check something real quick. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Profiles. Height, 5'5". No way. Your sprite does not look 5'5". You're the same height as Rebecca. No wonder Marianne, like, patted your head. Damn. 6 feet, 5 centimeters. You're shorter than Hannah. Well, let's see how tall Luke is. So he grew up privileged. Rebecca was the only one he considered a friend. So brief time as a police officer. Likes taiyaki ice cream. Surely. Justice. Stretch the truth? Nope, it went down. Why does it go down both ways? I'm gonna laugh if that's the case.
It's confidential, Rebecca.
It's about the E-neutral option. I wonder how many times I've told her that. Not just her. My dad, my mom, Zach and Isabella too. When there are questions, sometimes call for a quick reversion. Make sure they're all safe. They keep them out of danger. How many times have I told them why it's such boiled down to mind your own business? My job isn't a game. It isn't as glamorous as the television portrays it to be. I had thought so too, as a child. I was so clueless back then, wasn't I? But boy, did I learn. Sometimes we do get daring chases and spectacular busts. Those days when adrenaline runs through our veins to make that bullshit Hollywood shows feel real. It isn't always as clean cut as that, of course. We can never know how an operation might go. If we're lucky, we put the culprit behind bars. But it's mostly bad news. And if the universe feels a tad bit antagonistic, there'll be plenty of closed cases, dead ends, and dead bodies at our disposal. The good guys don't always win. Justice isn't always served. Investigation's not looking at a crime scene once to get a eureka moment. It's sleepless nights at the crime labs with the tech guys. It's several days wearing the same clothes with Chinese takeout stains because I'm staking out the place. It's frustration when bureaucracy hinders you from looking into a case any further, or when you know the suspect is guilty but they get away scot-free on technicality. It's seeing anger and pain and despair of every case. It's a knowledge that catching the criminal won't bring back the dead, won't suddenly make everything right again. Fixing a crap load of paperwork is what we consider a good day.
I know you have a mountain of questions, but I've told you this so many times before. I can't say much more than that.
Still look on Rebecca's face, the resentment and the pain. It hurts me as well, to think that I'm the cause of that. It's a familiar one too. It's a thing I've seen a lot over the years. I wonder how long it will take until Zach starts giving me the same one. Hell, I've already failed Isabella. Even no longer any life in them. Her eyes still seem to stare at me with the same accusation. What a mess. I'm a mess, and it's the people close to me who have to suffer for it.
Official police business, huh? So you did use me?
Used. The way she uttered it just makes me feel like a total scumbag. It's not like I did that on purpose. I just can't hold someone else responsible for this, right? Who am I going to blame? The Chief? Hannah, right? Luke, right? Doing so feels like cowardice. Doesn't change the fact that I'm the one who put us in this situation. I can't even look at her anymore. This is guilt eating me up inside. But then she laughs. Oh, that was surprisingly easy. Half-hearted, with barely a hint of cheer in it. But it's a laugh nevertheless. I honestly don't know what to make of that. What to do with myself upon hearing it. It's almost like the mere sound of it is meant to pierce.
The least you could have done is tell me. Maybe I could have helped. Kept an ear and an eye out for you. I don't know. I could have been Irene Adler, maybe?
Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, but the mask. She tries so hard for me. Putting up with me like this. I have to give her a smile back. Though I imagine it comes off in the same unenthusiastic note as hers. It's far easier to slip back to the banner when it's like this. But just brush off and set aside everything. At least this way, we wouldn't have to deal with the awful things.
The woman? Don't flatter yourself. Nancy Blue, more like.
Her sidekick would beg to differ, Ashett.
I can't stop a wry grin from forming my lips. She probably still has the photo from that contest. Keeps it in her old diary. I can never find either of the two anymore after I threatened to burn it. I've never brought it up again in the hope she'll just forget about the whole thing. But the small smile on her face says a lot. Those were good times. A lot simpler. A lot more peaceful. Now things have changed. We're no longer the same people we were as kids. Growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us. Just two of us. In the first place, it's a dumb notion to believe in. When nothing remains constant, things will inevitably change for the years. While Ashton's a very wordy person mentally. In fact, as already has long ago. Not just the people we allowed into our respective lives, but also within us, as a person, as friends. He's a very wordy person. It really does get complicated as we get older, doesn't it? Just say, man, we've really aged. There, summed up your entire paragraph in one sentence. Not everything has to be, though. Even if it'll take a 4-minute promise, I have no idea when I'll be able to fulfill.
I swear, I'll explain when it's all over.
The silence afterwards brings an even heavier air between us. Something Rebecca, thankfully, doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
I'm Batman. No, I'm Ashton. The situation is already awkward as it is. Prolonging it will only make it more... what? Difficult? Messed up? As if it isn't already. In some way, the lack of words is already an understanding in itself. It's better to leave things for now, and talk about when the wounds are no longer fresh in our minds. At least it's something we both outwardly agree on in the moment.
Back to your case again?
I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off until I have to report to Chief on Monday. Although I don't want to just throw in the towel on this. Orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't get to say fuck off, throw my gun and badge at him. Become some vigilante, see if I didn't get my job back. Or can you? Just give it a try. It might work out. I'll sooner get my ass thrown in jail than do any of that. But it's also not my nature to sit still and do nothing. It'll drive me crazy if I just idle about. Speaking of which... how we doing on the route? Whoo-wee. Well, no, we're already making progress to the next, branch, so... okay. Oh, that's a big one. Besides, Professor Clark has to know about this whole Luke Wright thing.
Yeah, I need to go talk to Professor Clark. And there's something else I need to look into.
That other matter she mentioned last night, specifically. The same stuff Zachary has also been trying to tell me. Things even the news have been blasting out in the general populace lately. Evening, afternoon, morning. All deaths of the same modus, blamed on a single serial killer. Or is it still the case?
Found dead in the early hours of the morning today. The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxembourg police.
Frankly, there's only one lead we have on this at the moment. All the crime scenes where victims have been found have also been vandalized with the same message as that letter. It is something, though nothing substantial to go by. Granted, I can bring up the letter Isabella found in the mansion, but chances are they will just pass it off as coincidence. And coincidence is never substantial, never enough in my work. There must be something we haven't seen yet, and the culprit has simply exploited those urban legends to hide his crimes. No, it's just a natural ghost. You're just overthinking it, it's just a natural ghost. You're not gonna pull off the mask and it's gonna be some old man Willikers there. It's just gonna be, you're gonna pull off the mask and there's gonna be a skull there. Relatively speaking, we're grasping at straws as far as these murders are concerned. I'm not even the one heading this investigation, yet look at me treating as if it's another high-profile case on my shoulder. How sad is that? Even LPD doesn't have an inkling what we're supposed to be looking for here. Although all three of my friends have mentioned seeing something strange, I don't want to get into that line of thinking for now. Particularly with how much every news outlet has blown this up. Not yet. Not until I've exhausted every logical reasoning and argument I can throw at it. To tell the truth, though, I don't know how to take all of this anymore. But looking at the closed door of Isabella's apartment, I can't bring myself not to act. Let's see where that butterfly hit. Okay, so that was if Isabella is dead or not. So we're going down the longer one. Nice. And after Rebecca's claim last night, if I lose another person important because I didn't listen, there wouldn't be enough regret in the world. Volk, I can still see your lifeless eyes staring back at me.
Well, glad to hear you're talking to someone, at least. Even if it's not me. You sure you're not bothering the professor or anything? Don't you be a cheeky brat now. I'm sure he's a very busy man. You pointed that out yourself last night.
Becca, even if he is, you know he'll make time for me. I'm his favorite after all, aren't I?
Attempt to keep things light again. Bad move, apparently. All I get in response to that is a roll of her eyes and the door shut in my face. Damn, Ash.
Deserve that.
Damn. Oof. Too many quips. We're just gonna have to bend this some other time. By then, her temper should have cooled off significantly. Hopefully. But now I can't laze around. Gotta tend to things that matter more. Find Professor Clark first, deliver the bad news, and maybe I'll also drop by Zach's. Check on him. Hear what he has to say. He's also read that damn letter. He has also been saying odd things about a bunch of photographs. I might as well, while I'm here, playing a paranormal cop. Or was it supernatural cop? I can't remember. There certainly isn't something I'll bother with on my free day. I'm going to be a laughingstock at the precinct. If anyone finds out I'm considering this as a possible angle for these murders, Inspector Abigail and Officer Carl, mostly. Whatever, it won't hurt anyone if I try to get in the bottom of this. No one has to know, either. If it never comes out of it, then good. Everyone can shut up about stupid curses and we can finally get back on track with our lives. On to more important stuff. If there's something...
I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
I see you, ghost. My name is Ash, and I'm a paranormal cop. Blat blat. That's what's gonna happen. And it's gonna be extremely ineffective. Because we don't have a paranormal cop gun. Until the last deep draw of my breath, I step out into the morning, casting my own problems away for now, whilst carrying a new set of uncertainties within me. If I'm lucky and Professor Clark has no other obligations today, I know just where to find him. He's usually at the park on late Saturday mornings, as long as it isn't raining cat and dogs. No, this curse is gonna start literally raining cat and dogs. Keeps him young and healthy, he says, and he's certainly fit for a man of his age with a sedentary job. The place is only a few minutes off from Salemwell, and gets plenty of foot traffic when it isn't drizzling. Now's a good time as any to get a few miles in. I've been having rather odd, pleasant, sunny days, as opposed to the usual gloomy, rainy, Luxburn ones after all. If you want to run the pavement, rather than on a treadmill without going home sopping wet, might as well take advantage of the strange weather. And like I've expected, it's not just those going for a run who are at the same mind. A moderate crowd dots the span of the park grounds by hours I arrive. I hope Kylie's not here. I would hate that. People walking their dogs, kids playing a game of tag, and a few are simply content to lay about in their blankets with a book in hand. Cheers and laughter, mostly from children and families, lends a place with a kind of warm atmosphere. I tend to avoid the park precisely because of that. No use dwelling on the could-haves and when it's already been done. Mom's doing well for career. Dad's also fun the last time I visited. Although neither remarried, they're both content with their lives as it is. I'm probably the only one still caught up with it, hence my aversion. But all in all, it's still a pleasant sight to see. You're the kind who takes joy in such sights. Look at them having money out there. How boring. I prefer spending time with my family. Of money. I call this one Jim. He's made of hundreds, and one bill I call a gajillion dollars. I invented it by paying off the treasury. Professor Clark is, and true to form, I find him enjoying a walk around the place. He stops as soon as he sees me, and a small grin spreading across his face when I near, his hand raised in casual greeting.
Not running today, Professor?
Oh, no, not today.
Oh.
Just thought I'd enjoy the nice weather before it takes a turn for the norm again. And to what do I owe the pleasure?
The guy certainly looks happy right now, in any case. I almost want to break the news to him. The smile on him? I don't want to ruin that. Oh, of course we do. Let's do it. But Sparrow gets us off quick as long as he doesn't shoot the messenger. He's not the type. However, long-held resentment can change a person. Even someone as mild-mannered as a professor.
Maybe we should sit down first.
Is that way you can't run? With a slight gesture of my hand, I lead the two of us to a nearby bench, away from anyone who might want to listen in. Not that there's much to hear, it's just for the sake of his privacy. He's had enough of the city's tattlers 10 years ago. There's definitely no need to feed more fuel to a fire that has already died down years ago. I wait for him to take the empty space beside me before starting. Instead, he spares a moment to give me a once-over, quiet and unblinking during his scrutiny. The way he looks at me reminds me of all those times he has done so back at the university. I try not to flinch, meanwhile. Once he's done, he simply raises a hand, reaching up to correct his glasses. A habit as I've learned many years ago. He does that once he's found what he's searching for, a nervous tick or an odd stain on one person. Something to tell him about the one in front of him. The art of keen conversation? I've learned it from the man. It's likely he already has an idea what this might be about, from my appearance and expression alone. Despite this, he allows me to speak first and wordlessly takes the open seat, a smile still on his face as he watches the scene in front of us. Funny how the simply world goes on? Or is it funny how simply the world goes on? Well, we sit here with a shadow looming over us.
I was hoping to talk to you about the case.
You know, the case. That case. I suppose I'm just the downer today. As soon as I say those words, a look of concern replaces a cheery expression on his face.
You aren't in trouble, are you?
For a second I hesitate, looking at the dirt beneath my shoes. But I manage, eventually. After a long, ragged draw of breath, I pick up where I've left off, though still fumbling with my crazing.
Well, I'm in a bit of trouble, if you can call it that.
He quickly raises a questioning brow at that.
But I'm not in danger or anything.
You've said that same excuse a million times before, Detective Inspector.
You're right, I'm in terrible danger. I just don't know it yet. Give me about a couple more hours.
Those circles under your eyes and your slouch tell a different story.
It's nothing like what you're thinking. Don't worry. I was just... I was taken off the Luxborn firm case.
I expect anger, frustration, maybe even disappointment. But all he gives me is a small sigh of relief.
Is that so? Well, at least you aren't in danger. Liz wouldn't be too happy if she saw you like this right now.
Liz. Aunt Liz. She insisted I call her. His late wife. A sweet-tempered woman by so many standards, never blessed with kids and contented herself with simply managing their newly opened bakery. But she's the closest I had to a mom for the few years I had known her. The professor, too. In the absence of my own parents in my life, the two filled the aches their separation left in me.
Believe me, you'll get an earful if you show up looking like that on her doorstep.
How many years has it been since? 9? 10? I can still remember it vividly. Two men, primly dressed, briefcases in hand, and a stern look on each of their faces. They had been a frequent visitor to the bakery the months prior. Something about the lot being a prime property in downtown Luxburn. I hope they were hoping to sell a deal with them, but neither of the couple gave in to their demands. Why should they? The quaint little shop was a dream for them, after all. Aunt Liz sent me home early that night, after a fruitless wait for the professor. The next morning, news of a bakery razed to the ground had spread across the whole city. One casualty. A few weeks later, the property was sold to Wright Enterprise. A Falcon Hotel now stands in its place. Of course, an investigation was launched after the incident. The name Luke Wright was briefly at the center of it. With the lack of any evidence, the case ultimately went cold. And this supposed to be England, don't they have cameras everywhere? The professor hides it well. However, I can tell he hates that man to this day. It won't be too much of a stretch to think that he might blame Luke Wright for every tragedy that happens in the city. He's never blamed me, though, when I'm equally as responsible. I knew something's off the moment those men stepped inside the shop. I could have saved her that night. I could have prevented anything from happening to her. Called for help or whatever. I didn't. So he continues to eat at me until today. The guilt. The Luxburn firm case would have been our chance of reopening that old case, if we can prove Luke right of his crimes. Instead, we're back to square one. Yet all he has for me are words of comfort. I think he can still be this concerned about me after my carelessness, after I've broken every promise a second time. People never cease to amaze me.
You might think that you have failed as an officer. Or maybe you think that you have failed me. And you know more than anyone. I would love to see that man taken down. If anyone deserves to be tried in high court, it's him. Goodness knows what awful things he's done. But I'm glad nothing's happened to you while you were working on this. That's what's most important. I'd hate to get news like that again.
He stops. A thoughtful look flashes in his eyes as he thumbs the wedding band on his ring finger. Before he continues, I never have it. He's never removed it since that day. He's never thought once to remarry. Maybe the magic team of his life returned to some semblance of normalcy. Let's see how long this is. Ooh, pretty damn long. His way of honoring her, I suppose, when he came to bring the man responsible for his loss to justice. Needless to say, some people are just hard to forget. We're on the same mind on that point.
It's not like another death. Yours or even his will bring back my wife.
Silence falls between us afterwards. But it'll bring us justice. I don't quite know what to say after that, really. Should I apologize? Show some sympathy? Going into this, I should have thought something other than just breaking the news to him. As it is, it seems the only thing we can do is feel sorry for each other's misfortunes. And every occasion. Under different circumstances, I might have accepted that, but...
And I don't know if I've told you yet, but the one in the news recently, the girl, she was the one you kept mentioning before, yes? The girl you frequently hang out with. They said she briefly worked for them, as their real estate agent for the mansion. I've just heard about it. Although, for what it's worth, I'm sorry about what happened to your friend. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but if this is that man's doing...
For once, Luke is not actually guilty of doing horrible things.
Professor, please.
Exception, not the rule. They come out more straight than usual, more than what I'm accustomed to when speaking to the older man. It's what the burden of guilt does, I suppose. The knowing, the awareness, and that I could have done plenty of steps to prevent anything from happening. Maybe if things around me hasn't started going beyond my control, the letter, the mansion, the supposed curse behind those, I'll still be quick to blame it all on that bastard too. But as much as I want to keep holding him responsible for it, to add a number to his list of sins...
Please don't finish that.
All this time, I've prided myself over being the one to always know. I'm not so sure anymore. It seems to be far from the case now. Ghosts and curses? These are the things completely out of my depth. That's why you gotta become a paranormal cop. I'll ask the professor. That's his area. I'll bait from the cultural and psychological standpoint. But how much of an incentive jerk can I be? To ask for assistance while giving him none of my own. I don't even know how much of this I can look into. Before, these were just the stuff of legends. Stories. Professor Clark is right in some way. This would be so much easier if Luke Wright is to be blamed for all of this. At least, finding evidence for that will be a breeze for me, and I'll be all too happy to put him in place that he deserves. Although if he is in any way also complicit to what has happened to her, legalities have my hands tied. But maybe that's my fault. I might have missed a ticket to closing the case once and for all last night. If only I'd done a better job at during the party. Should have not been so focused on stealing good food. But then, the commotion. There was Hannah, Ryan, and Rebecca distracted me from my purpose too. I'll include that gate crasher staying behind them as well, even though it's only for a moment. So many things have gone wrong last night that I've lost my focus and... Hold on.
This isn't a prank! I saw something! See? This is why I didn't want to tell you guys!
Brain putting 2 and 2 together. Cells actually working. My god. It's a ghost!
It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Last night, at the party.
But it's real! What do you think I saw? It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
That woman.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her.
Shite. If that's what Isabella's been warning us about, if it's the same ghost Rebecca talked about last night, or what Zach told me about a few days prior, how many of these instances have I dismissed since reading the letter? All of them! How many have I passed out because of fatigue or lack of sleep? Even last night, a hallucinogen at least in the food is the first thing I consider as a culprit for what I've seen. Purely because that's what my training dictates. It's what I've grown used to. It's setting the gears in my head automatically takes in a situation like that. Of course, despite these suspicions, I'm not discounting all of that yet until I have enough information. Something to form a conclusion. Proof in whatever for it may come. But thinking straight is impossible when, all of a sudden, all your beliefs are being upturned. In the most violent way possible at that. Cognitive dissonance at its finest. Look it up. Jesus, I need a sounding board. I need to talk to someone and Dak's the best person for that.
I have to go.
Already? Wait, Ashton, where are you?
Wait a minute, this is the 29th. I don't have time to say any more than that. No time to stop and listen to what the professor has to say, as I bolt up and run like a bat out of hell. Aim back to my car in record time. I don't waste even a second to hit the road and head to Zach's place. If anyone else knows anything about what's going on, who can help the sort of muddled mess my mind is, it's got to be him. He listened to Isabella. Zach's the kind who prefers to laze around in his apartment on a weekend, especially after having a busy week like the last one. The big guy's nowhere in sight though when I arrive in his unit. Figures. People don't seem to be where they should be when I need them. But to happen now of all times? It frustrates me. I can see why Inspector Abigail and Rebecca sometimes tells me that I have a temper. I always tell the latter that it's as bad as her fiery streaks. Looking around, I find no sign where he might have gone to. He usually leaves a note in his fridge if he's out for the day, just in case someone drops by. Is this when he snuck into the house? Or is this when Zachary is out? But seeing as there isn't one, he probably just went out for a quick walk. I hope. Maybe he ran out of eggs or something and went out to buy some. Oh yeah, that's what he did. He is out of eggs after all. We say that as we steal more food, because Ashton has a food-stealing fetish. A peek into his fridge confirms this, and it puts my running mind to rest for a while. He always has to have some. Be it for an omelet or something he's baking, the guy always has a baker's dozen. Actually, I can also go for a fucking pie right now. But Zach's fridge is next to empty, save for a few leftovers from last night's dinner. All I can do is sigh as I close it behind me. I'm still worried for my friend, of course. The messy bed suggests he was out in a hurry. He didn't even bother to fold the sheets. His cell phone's been left behind as well. Another odd thing when he has made it a habit to never leave it behind in a case of client calls.
At least the locked door points to the fact that it wasn't a forced exit.
Maybe it was him running for his life from a ghost. I can take comfort in that, but not so much. Anything might happen and completely letting our guard down is out of the question. In hindsight, I shouldn't have left Rebecca alone too. I'll have to check on her later. In the meantime, there's Zach to worry about. With no more clue where he is without his phone with him, I have no choice but to wait. Sure, I can give the room another full run-through, but I don't think Zach will appreciate me unbending this place. Besides, before I can think of snooping, but even more, my stomach growls. Remind me I haven't been eating anything yet today. Might as well cool down a bit, right? Anything to distract myself so I don't have to just charge head first because of whatever paranoid scheme comes to mind. Oh man, yang potato chips! Returning to the kitchen, the first thing I see is a bag of chips when I rifle through his cupboards. If the mother get permission and apology to its owner won't hear, I grab it, set myself on his gold couch, and turn on the television. The screen lights up, whereas some awful noontime drama starts airing on the Channel 9. Ghost? Nothing like singing from the TV, but a mindless drone running in the background to waste away the time. And waste it away I do. The afternoon has hit its last few hours when movement comes from the other side of the door, and Zach's heavy treads break the monotonous drivel from the TV. The lock clicks, the knob turns, and slowly it swings open to reveal a very exhausted looking Zach. What, did he run a marathon?
Sup, Z-Man?
Light as my tone might be, his arrival eases the restless edge in me. Who knows what I would have done if something bad has happened to everyone of my friends. Hearing an exasperated response is a good thing, too. If never been has gone by without him showing up, I might resort to unconventional methods. Thankfully, he doesn't have to come to that.
Ash, how many times do I have to tell you not to call me Z-Man? And stop breaking into my apartment! I'll call the cops on you, but doing that feels like a joke in itself because you are one.
I didn't. You gave me a key the last time I did that, remember?
After the last one you broke, I can't keep replacing the knob just because you think it'd be amusing to lockpick the hell out of it. And hey, is that my...
It's scary how the friendly banter and easy smile comes naturally.
You ate all of it! I was saving that one for the weekend!
Not my problem. These chips are just too delicious.
I'll replace it.
King of foods. I do it, even without thinking. And that speaks volumes about how comfortable I am around him. That's nice, isn't it? What makes me afraid of it, however, is the idea that a time might come when I might just have to do these on autopilot around him, without even meaning to. Offend him in some way. The friendship we have might be closer than most I've shared with others, but there are boundaries you can't cross without the partner's permission. Dak's been respectful of that, so far. Never asking about my parents or what happened to them. Me? I'll bet he'll say not so much. It's also this easy banter that makes me wish we can just stay like this. No worries, no problems. Just potato chips and the debate on whether or not I deserve them. But as always, I have business. As soon as I see the chance, I take it. Straight to the point and asking about the odd things that have been happening lately. What do you think about Big Blunt bringing up the letter?
What did he say about the photographs?
Huh? Oh, there's no guarantee it's a supernatural thing. It doesn't always happen. So, that's a dead end right there. Now that I think about it, bothering that guy for this feels pretty silly now. But with dreams lately...
That's all? Did he say anything about the damn letter at all? Did you ask him even?
Yeah, that's really everything. The letter kind of slipped my mind. The photos were more important at that time. There was some stuff about the local horror stories, though. Talked about the curses, and he was really fascinated with the story about a wraith asking for a sacrifice to move on. Kinda nasty if you ask me. But it does make sense if you simply go along with it. I'm not sure how this will help in the grand scheme of things. Why are you asking about this anyway?
As expected, as we go through all this, Dak starts to look at me like I've grown a second head. Hi, I'm Ash. Yeah, I will too. If there's ever a universe where I'm standing in front of myself, giving him a piece of my mind, and since the rumors surrounding the mansion are nothing but tales, whatever happened to Isabella, whatever's happening lately, like it has a logical, more grounded explanation. Because yes, I am a skeptic. It's a ghost, Ash. Even as a child, I never believed in ghost stories. The lucky charms and mystical objects from my mother have often been stored away or given as paltry gifts to those who will appreciate them more. The fact that I'm even considering this is crazy, when every time Isabella has talked about her country's silly superstitions, I'll just brush it off. put out every inaccuracy I can until it's all but exhausted. Granted, I haven't eliminated every single possibility here, yet. What else did there go off on from here? I try to stamp down on the annoyance from that thought alone. The worried look Zach shoots my way doesn't help one bit in helping me gather my thoughts either, when that's what I came here for. Somehow, everyone's just suddenly so worried about me. Rebecca, the professor, and Zach? It's not like I'm pulling this out of my ass. If even Rebecca's claims there's something shady going on, I'm inclined to believe there must be a scrap of truth to it. When I look at those, along with Isabella's warnings, what happened to her, what's occurring around Zach, what's taking place around Luxborn since Isabella found the letter.
Have you seen the news this morning?
His puzzled expression is enough answer. Of course he hasn't. Another night, another nightmare. The guy most likely went out as soon as he got out of bed. To shake the images off. The memories have never really left him. So I show him. Cycling through the challenge till I find one doing a recap of this morning's reports. And there it is. The poor guy's unidentifiable with how badly his body's been burnt. Murder via arson. That's a logical explanation of how the officer looking into it. Let's see, we still in this branch? We're nowhere near done. Except, they can't find the source of the fire. The fire didn't even spread.
Found dead in the early hours of the morning today. The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxborn police.
They're going to consider spontaneous human combustion soon enough. If they don't find anything else. But what's important for everyone to note is the state of the room. Help me repeatedly scrawled around the place.
A similar writing was found in another victim's room from last week's incident. Both were employees of Briar Realty Corporation. LBN has reached out to the...
Look what happened to Cooper. And to Isabella. Hell, I wonder how many deaths I've missed. How many crime scenes have ended up in a similar state while I've been looking to the right. Nobody's already thinking it's a serial killer at this point. How long until I consult with the London Metropolitan? I'm not sure. The Anselm Butcher has always been an enigma even to the people within this city. Gone for a few years, and the next one body after another is found. I wonder if it's when they're like selling this house or something. Or maybe some people like take a tour through it. Really handling the case has apparently driven the Chief Inspector insane years ago. He never did find out who committed those murders. Maybe now, this time.
You think this is...
I don't know what to think, Zach.
The next second, I'm up on my feet and pacing the span of a small room without thinking about it. My body just needs to be busy, moving about, burning out rather than burning my own brain out. Sometimes I do both, but moving helps. Keeps the brain running. Healthy body, healthy mind. Or was it the other way around? Fuck, I can't even think coherently right now. I just know there's something. There must be. There has to be.
I should have looked into this when she was still here. Maybe none of this would have happened if I did.
The words slip out my mouth before I can censor them. The guilt and sorrow. Those I won't let others even catch a glimpse of under normal circumstances. All laid bare in this one moment of weakness. Zach will say otherwise. He's always been the optimist. The one who sees the best in people. But such sentiments or any words of comfort won't change the truth. A single instance of neglect and indifference has cost me someone dear to me. Again. We've all been given our warning that day, in a desperate pleading tone of hers, and I'm the first one to brush it off. Still, like the usual, Zach tries. A benefit of the doubt I'm not worthy of.
Rebecca and I are still here.
Oh no. Oh no.
We'll manage, one way or another.
Don't make it sound so easy. We have no idea what we're dealing with here.
It's a whole fucking mess, and we're in it blind. The only way to make it worse is if we start running around like a bunch of headless chickens. But I have a concrete plan now. Aside from those writings, there's another thing linking most if not all of those victims. The latter I'll still have to look deeper into, of course. However, this little detail has been bothering me since Inspector Abigail pointed out during the briefing. Even news has picked up on it. Most of the victims were employees of the same company before their untimely deaths. Briar Realty Corporation. Inconsequential one looks at the grand scheme of things, but maybe, just maybe I'll be able to find something there. After all, despite the public's inquiries, the company has been quite suspiciously mum about the incidents. Sir, everyone seems to be dying in our company, and they all visited this one place. By God. You know what this means? We'll have to do rehires. You know how annoying that is. You know, when one looks at it, everything they're doing screams fishy. Not just with the fast sale of the mansion. This entire time, I've been ignoring and treating it as a separate matter. But what if... I don't mention all of this to Zach, of course. My suspicions are mine for the moment. The details are something he doesn't need to know until I have something to show. It's enough that he's aware I have an idea in mind. For his part, Zach doesn't push it, and nothing but a heavy silence leads my departure hours later. Still, from the looks of it, he has a plan of his own too. This despite my insistence for him to stay put. Zach always means well, but I'll worry less if he's not moving about without my knowledge. There are so many unknown variables at play here already.
This is a really big one, and I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
What? You think you have a better plan?
Who knows if it's better? At least it's something.
Which doesn't particularly excite me, if I'm going to be honest. I trust him to be reasonable. What I don't trust is the uncertainty that we aren't simply jumping out of a frying pan and into a fire. Anyways, what can I do? Short of cuffing him, which will present problems of its own and leave him terribly vulnerable, it's not like I can keep him leashed. He's an adult, a man of his own. I just hope this whole thing doesn't get any more foobar than it already is.
Do what you want. If you can check in with Rebecca, I'd appreciate it.
I want to say more than that. I don't want to state the obvious. Zach's not an idiot. He knows I mean more. He knows not to run to things recklessly, a lot more than I do. He knows to keep his lines of communication open, always ready to call for help when he needs it. And he knows not to get in over his head. Seriously, he'll probably make a more responsible police officer than me, if only he has the heart to join the force. We certainly can use more kind people like him. Though as good as that thought is, I push all of it into the back of my mind as I step out onto the pavement. Tonight, I can't stay distracted.